Okay, in this section we'll go over some of the motion graphics or effects there, and also address the text as far as basic graphics go. So you have your clips here, and if you select a clip, you can control the effects by going to Effects Controls. But first you have to select the clip that you want to basically use the effects controls on, and you'll know you're selected it because it'll be highlighted in white. Then when you go into the effects controls, you can see all of the controls or effects that are on that clip. So if you want to change the scale, the size of the clip, this is where you would do it. You can go into Scale, which is under the drop down of Motion, and you can scale it larger or smaller. You can change the position of the clip, so you can do some adjustments with composition. You can rotate it, or you can change the opacity, being able to see through it. So if you had a clip underneath there, you'd be able to see the clip underneath. So by changing the opacity, you can see through the top clip. Remember, it's always top down. Alright, and if I put the opacity, change the opacity back to 100%, then you can no longer see through it. Alright. If your computer is running slow, again, you can change it into a ingest proxy, and I'll put a link to how to do that. And if you want to try it without doing that, you could also just change the viewing resolution to a quarter speed. It won't look as good, but at least your computer will run a little smoother. Alright. And if you want to keyframe properties, you can do that. So with the opacity, I'm going to get rid of these keyframes here. You can keyframe the position, scale, or opacity. So activate your keyframe by turning on your keyframe button right here. And then once you do that, any changes you make will be recorded. So for example, if I change the position at this point, you see a keyframe is formed. If I go a little further in time, I can change another keyframe on scale. Go a little further, I can change position again. And you can see all of those changes were recorded. So when I play it back, all of those motion properties have been keyframed. So it basically records those parameters for each one of those properties. And that's the basics behind keyframing. Again, you can keyframe the position, scale, rotation, and opacity. Probably won't do too much of that. Only time we have to use scale is where you shoot in 4K, and we're going to be using an HD sequence, and even then you would just right click on the clip and scale the frame size, and then it will do the scaling for you. Alright, and scaling can be used kind of as a poor man's dolly if you want to zoom in or zoom out, make people think you are on a dolly. You can animate this scale. Alright. So again, the default transition, another effect for the fade, is just right click on the edge and that will fade in the clip. And I'll take this one from underneath so you don't get confused. And if you want the end of it to fade out, you just go to the end and right click and fade out. Alright. I would advise not using too many effects on your first projects. It's just too distracting, and usually it's a sign of an amateur if you have a lot of effects. Again, we're just doing simple cinema film style, so all we really want are cuts and possibly some dissolves. Alright, We will later maybe show you some green screen, ultra key effects, or removing the green screen. But for now, that is the motion graphics for your effects controls. All right.